welcome back to the Rake, guys. We have a very awesome, very charitable guest today. He's also part-time cowboy, has won millions in poker, but that might be the least interesting thing about him. Welcome to the pod, Dan Smith.
Hi, and thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm very happy to have you. And, you know, the timing of this couldn't be better because you are kicking off your Double Up Drive. And you want to just talk a few minutes about that, explain to people what it is, how they can get involved, and how it came about?
Sure. Our team and I pick out 10 charities. If anyone donates to any of the 10, say you donate $100 to Animal Charity Evaluators, someone on our team will also donate $100, so your $100 donation becomes $200. It's a way to get lots of people involved in doing good, and it gets you leverage on your donation. It gets the word out for these great organizations. Over the last 7 years, we've raised $16 million. It just does a lot of good, and we try to make it as easy for people and easy as possible for people that they could trust that their money is in good hands and doing the best possible thing. This is the first year that we are 501c3, so we are an official organization now, so that's pretty cool.
So how do you choose your charities? Do you have some causes that are near and dear to your heart, or do they always mix it up?
The first step is we just kind of brainstorm on what sort of causes that we want to include in a given year. Something like this year, we had never included anything about the environment, and then we just realized that seemed kind of crazy. So then we reach out to somebody who is an expert at evaluating charities, and they typically give us a list of organizations. And this is where I differ from some of the team. Once the people whose job it is to vet charities, an organization like GiveWell or Open Philanthropy are two examples, I am cool to trust that the data is good, and I don't look at it. Like, these people who are professionals at it are better at it than I am. Then I call them up on the phone. I try to talk to somebody. I get a feel for what they do. Just try to listen to my heart. There are other people on our team who are more data driven, and they are really analytical with that stuff. I put a lot of value in calling somebody on the phone, deciding whether they'd be somebody I would like to work with. A question I like to ask is, if you had $1 million, what would you do differently with your organization, or what changes would you make? And occasionally someone will say something in a way that it's like, I am definitely not giving you any money. That is crazy.
Yeah, someone's like, oh, I'd pay higher executive salaries. You're like, gotta go. So that's awesome. And yeah, if anyone's thinking about donating anything this holiday season, I feel like this is the month people think about other people a lot and the tough things they're going through.
I think 90% of all donations happen in December, and 90% of those happen the last week of December.
Wow. It makes sense too, because a lot of people do get holiday bonuses and stuff, and sometimes it's unexpected money. And then obviously you're inspired, you're going to be seeing your family, you're feeling a lot of love, and you want to give back. But yeah, this is amazing though. So it's if you have a budget of $500 for charity, it just became $1,000 if you donate through Dan. I wanted to ask you a lot about the origin of this, because I feel like we've talked about this a lot, just we as a poker community. The fact that poker is it's a zero-sum game. It can be kind of predatory. Sometimes it's isolating. People go through their upswings and downswings on their own. And it's something where it's hard to feel like you're doing something good for the world. You're usually trying to get money for yourself in most games. How did it come about that you started this charity? Was that the impetus for it, that you felt like poker was not going to fulfill you?
There was a New Year's Day when I had an all-time hangover, one of those hangovers where I don't just feel bad, but I hate myself. I'm a piece of shit. What did I do? And I just felt awful. And I was in Mexico with Donnie Stern, and he just suggested that, as a way to feel better about yourself, why don't I try to be more charitable? And I'm like, is it okay if I swear on this?
Yeah, it's encouraging.
There was a moment ago where I definitely held back, but I will not hold back anymore. Like, yeah, what does that mean? His wife, Stephanie, ended up helping me in my first drive, where it's like, oh, I saw this organization that was doing a matching challenge. We ended up doing it that year as like just my way to fulfill my New Year's obligation, resolution rather. I guess kind of both. And the first year, I did $25,000 to the Humane League. I matched 25,000 in donations, and there was a secondary matcher at that organization that did the whole 50. So I realized I got the tax write-off on the 15,000. So what only cost me 17 grand ended up raising 100.
Wow.
So that showed me that the model really worked. And then a year and a half later at Burning Man, I was rolling my face off. And I was just convinced that I had one, it was just like, I always had this negative view of myself, like the internal narrator was really hard on myself. I just realized that it was kind of ridiculous. I'd always assumed that I was an idiot, and it's like, Dan, you are a really good poker player. Like, you're probably not an idiot. And it's just like, if I became really great at this one thing, it is probably likely that I could be great at other things. And I'm like, the way that I felt was so good in comparison to the way that I used to feel. I just very much had the idea of, I want to share this feeling with the world. And then given how much I talked about it that night when I had Molly mouth, I figured like, okay, I better try this thing. I wrote a blog that year about Burning Man and how like psychedelics changed my view of the world, and it went viral, and Martin Crowley donated $1 million through Double Up Drive. And it's like, okay, I guess this is what we're working on now.
That's awesome. That is not, anytime I've, taken a toxic substance of any kind, it has not gone that well. Usually I'm the person who hates myself like you. And then, I don't know, I just like drink some water and eat a pizza. So I'd say that was a pretty good drug experience. Have you had any since then that were that like revelatory?
I have not had anything at all like that. I have tried since, and I kind of just think like that is the epitome of a drug experience. And now I'm kind of in the camp that like I haven't really been doing many drugs over the last couple of years. I think I've gotten the lessons that I intend to get out of it. I'm still a pretty anxious person, and I'm afraid of I think drugs do have a lot of risk. I have not had anything close to that experience, and it wasn't due to a lack of trying.
It's so interesting. I love this topic. And I've never been to Burning Man, but I really want to go. And obviously I've been to other festivals, but I just think it's so interesting the way that can just release these things that obviously have been in your subconscious the whole time. I don't know. It's wild. It's wild.
My dad died under challenging circumstances, and I think I was suffering from PTSD. And there are studies that show that PTSD and Molly seem to have like a special relationship. I do feel a little, like a lot of people have reached out to me trying to have similar experiences, and I don't know of anyone else who did. Like I know people who are like, oh, I used to struggle with this thing, and mushrooms or Molly or whatever helped me get over it. But I don't know anyone whose story was very much like mine. So I hope people don't hear this sort of thing and be like, I'm just going to take Molly until I have the best night of my life and change the world. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
I think most of the work had been done either subconsciously or consciously with you before that. Like it just kind of, it doesn't make you come up with the idea or make you a good person necessarily. I think you were already that way. You just needed that little push or something. It's kind of like therapy in a way, I think, where, I started just doing some therapy, and it's, it just kind of gives you that extra little push. So I don't think it will solve people's problems unless they're ready for it, unless they're right there.
Yeah. I was just going to say, yeah, obviously I'm very sorry about your dad. I lost my dad under very horrible circumstances as well. And I think like working through it is like such a long process because you just feel like you're supposed to feel all the shit all at once. And that's just not how brains work. You're just like, I'm fine, I'm fine. And then it's 10 years later and you're like freak out over something. But I think I did have another point to that. Oh, yeah, with therapy. So I like read a bunch of studies about that it helps with like couples therapy with family with huge trauma that people have in their life, just micro dosing certain drugs, like obviously MDMA, and now it's sanctioned. They're allowed to do it. So like in some places, like you can just go sit in a therapist's office and like take a tiny amount of Molly, and then all of a sudden you're like talking about your childhood and you're open and the anxiety is gone. I just think that's really cool that the country seems to be moving more towards open-mindedness in that way. And I think for a lot of people that might make them try something because there's really no reason why alcohol is like free flowing everywhere in the world. And that's actually very harmful for people for a lot of reasons. And then certain drugs that could probably help you a lot are like, nope, can't do those or you're a drug addict. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I was very afraid to do drugs for a while because I remember those DARE lectures where it's like taking a scoop of ice cream out of your brain. I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. And sometimes even just talking about drug use, I feel rumblings in my stomach, and it's
that's a powerful visual.
It could do a lot of good, but I also would really encourage people to be super careful because I think if you don't respect the drugs and do them intelligently, like you could destroy your lives too.
For sure. Or you could just raise like $16 or $17 million. You know, it's one or the other.
We have this big Run It Once, charity tournament coming up this weekend that we are playing in to support the drive. You want to talk a little bit about that charity tournament?
I don't know as many details about it as I should, but I know that the largest donors get a seat in the tournament, and then I believe also any donor gets a raffle in it, and then they play a heads-up tournament. Maybe y'all know more details and y'all should talk about it. Because it is just one of many things that my friend Alexis, who helps me with the charity, like I threw that onto her plate, and it was just a lot. But if you know more about it.
Is that Alexis Gilbard?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. See, that's the thing too. I feel like you're good at picking people. Like just the people that I hear are like involved with your Double Up Drive are just really cool people. And I feel like that's a huge part of it, that like you trust the team you work with and you've pulled like some of the best and brightest from poker. I don't know. That was just an aside, but
Alexis is really great. But I think it tends to be a pretty good filter of people who are like, hey, Dan, I want to do all this work for your cause and not get paid for it.
Yeah, true.
So we're doing this Run It Once charity tournament. I believe it's 18 pros because I'm playing in it. So some are very loose. But 9 qualifiers that qualified based on how much they donated. And it's going to be, I think it's using the new Sit and Go software on the site. And it's going to be a shootout style to a winner. And I played in the last charity tournament and I got second and I lost to Bob Vance. Heads up, and I am pissed about it. I'm coming and I'm going to win this time. God damn it.
I hope I don't play you. That's very intimidating.
I feel like if I got heads up with you, I'd just let you win because I don't want to feel that wrath.
I am so amped. I was so pissed. Even though it was for no money, I wanted that trophy. It would have looked great in the Rake background every week. And
So people who want to play in that, they can donate. They can still donate now. And then I guess the raffle will be like the day before or something to get a seat. That's pretty cool though. You get to play some of the best players in the world. And then some of the worst players in the world. I mean, it's got something for everyone.
I played in the last one, and I will say I was super impressed with the Run It Once software.
It's really cool.
Thanks, Dan. We're really impressed with you, too. Sorry to interrupt the podcast, everyone, but I just wanted to give you some more information on that tournament. Run It Once Poker is thrilled to announce that we've teamed up with Double Up Drive to host a charity poker stream on our Twitch channel on Saturday, December 19th. We've invited 18 of our favorite pros, including folks like Jason Kuhn, Stephen Chidwick, Phil and Farrah Galfond, as well as Dan Smith himself, to take part in a 27-player Pro-Am S&G Select Shootout. And we've left 9 spots up for grabs for those who choose to donate to Double Up Drive. For your chance to secure one of those spots, all you need to do is make a donation of any amount to Double Up Drive before December 16th. Take a screenshot of your donation and send it to donations@runatonce.com. We'll reserve 5 spots for the individuals who make the largest donations and select 4 other donors at random to participate in the event. Need more convincing? Not only will you get an opportunity to play with some of the hottest pros in the game and make a positive contribution to society through your donation, the winner of the tournament will also receive a one-of-a-kind trophy, plus get 3 free months of our elite plan at Run It Once training, 3 free months of access to our popular Vision GTO trainer, and free access to our A-Game Poker Masterclass presented by renowned mindset coach Elliot Rowe. For full details, head to once.run/doublepup. Or, if you just want to make a donation regardless of the tournament, you've got until December 27th to do so directly through Double Up Drive at once.run/donate. And now, back to the pod.
So I want to ask you a couple fun questions too, and we'll get back to Double Up Drive at the end when we just guilt everyone into surrendering their money to the cause. But I want to hear the Cowboy Dan origin story, since you are saved in my phone as the cowboy emoji. And like, tell us a little bit about it. And do you like that? Have you ever had any other ridiculous nicknames?
I have had some ridiculous nicknames, but so I went to a wedding in Texas a few years ago. In Houston, and it was just an all-time bender. At the rodeo, I bought this like cheap plastic cowboy hat that I thought was like really cool and hilarious. Like I wore it to my friend's wedding. Like you're not supposed to wear that sort of thing indoors, but I was like, I don't care what you think, this is fucking awesome. So then I showed up the next week to an Aria 25K, and there was somebody there from Texas. He's like, Dan, this is an embarrassing hat. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. What should I be wearing? And Jason Kuhn actually got me like a proper cowboy hat. So then at some point along the way, Doyle was like, Dan, I hear you like cowboy hats. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I think I called the hat that Jason got me a Stetson. And I was embarrassing myself. Like, it wasn't. And he's like, I'll give you a proper Stetson. Do you want a white one or a black one? And I was like, I want a black one. I show up to Bobby's room the next day. He has a white one. And he's like, you and I are the same hat size, 7 3/8. Here you go. And then when Doyle gives you a one-of-one hat, like, I was super excited to wear it to all the big tournaments. It's fun. If I play a poker tournament and I don't wear it, I get a ton of people just being like, Dan, where's the cowboy hat? Yeah, I love it.
That's great.
That's awesome. We need more characters in poker.
Tell me your other nicknames. You have to have some like embarrassing ones where you're willing to like give them all up for the Cowboy Dan. Like there have to have been some bad ones.
I'm not going to get into this story, but I was referred to as Truck Dan for a long time.
Oh, Dan. Okay. Now I need to know. I'm going to ask you later if you play Mafia. We're going to get into that story a little bit.
It's going to be very suspicious, though, and I'm going to get voted out. It's going to be terrible.
Oh, it's a suspicious story. Okay.
Yeah.
I always think you're bad anyway. And also we have a string of guests now that it's like all Mafia people. And I'm like, people who don't ever play are just like, just please shut the fuck up about Mafia. We don't care.
I was maybe going to segue into chess because that's kind of what you've been putting most of your time doing these days. Tell us about how you got into that to start, and then we'll take a deep dive.
Sure. When I was 6 years old, my uncle got me a Dino checkers set, and I thought it was the coolest thing. And shortly after that, I wanted to play with my sister. I didn't know how to read yet, so I grabbed the chess set. And then when she told me that it was a different game, I'm like, come on, it's the same board. It starts with CH. Like, let's just play this. She's 5 years older than me, and I beat her the first day that we played. And on the third day of me learning how to play, I beat my dad. So then my parents were like, okay, Danny's good at this. They started taking me to the local library, and more or less for the next 9 years, chess was like the major love of my life, and I competed in tournaments like throughout the U.S. I was a good like junior player, but I wasn't quite good enough to ever have hopes of like breaking through the professional level, which I'm actually grateful for. You can't make any money in chess unless you make like top 10 in the world.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. There's a lot of really good games and good sports where you can't really be like fully professional. You have to be literally the top to be able to make it your complete focus. Running is one of them. Like one of my friends went to the Olympics and she had like the whole time she was keeping like multiple jobs. Like there's just not enough money in it for her to drop everything and just be a runner. I feel like that's so unfortunate because some of the big sports and big games like suck up all of the advertising money and sponsorship money, and then all of a sudden like other very useful pursuits just get nothing. You have to like flip burgers while you learn chess.
The internet is changing that a lot. Like chess streams seem to be doing really well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I talked to Jen's one of my best friends, Jen Shahadi, and we talked about it a lot. And it's like it's so weird to have gone through the poker boom because I feel like now there's like the chess boom and all the regrets that people had during the poker boom about not playing enough or not trying to get a sponsorship and not whatever, all those regrets. Like I feel like the people who are in chess and poker kind of can make sure the second time around that they really like crush it and get the most out of the boom. Do you feel like that has to do with Queen's Gambit? Do you feel like that was happening already?
No, it definitely is due to Queen's Gambit. I kind of don't buy the fact of people not taking advantage of the boom. Like granted, it was a lot easier, but just because you happen to make some money in like 2007, that doesn't mean you're going to hold on to it. And also, I'm not really confident that a bunch of people playing low-level chess is going to make things better for the. It's not like poker where money trickles up, you know. Like you have a bunch more people who are really inexperienced. That doesn't really affect the top of the chess world. But I guess I will say it will make teaching and streaming and that sort of thing way more prevalent. And sorry for being a little bit negative and kind of just shitting on you there, but
I mean, I'm asking you. If I knew all the answers, I would just be like, yo, this is what Dan thinks. I'll tell you, and I wouldn't waste your time. So I don't mind it at all.
So of all these things, poker, charity, chess, what takes up most of your time these days?
I kind of want to say none of them. I don't spend, like chess definitely the least. Chess is just mostly me putzing around on my computer when I'm bored, which has been a lot more in COVID times than regular. I go through periods where I'm super motivated by poker, but it needs to be a really exciting situation for me to be fired up about it. For the most part, being fired up involves playing for really big money, but maybe not always. Once you get used to playing super high stakes, playing smaller stakes feels like a waste of time to me. And at this exact moment, I've been gambling pretty big on other stuff, so I feel really unmotivated about playing poker. Maybe that'll change after some time off or whatever.
Or if you lose all your bets.
Yeah, if Daniel comes back, maybe I'll be grinding the big 500 on GG coming up. But and I do get a ton of credit for the charity stuff, but I think people probably overestimate how much time I personally spend on it. I am fortunate that I don't have to, like we had some issues with the website recently where like people had to pull all-nighters coding to fix it. That I like showed up at their house and was like, hey guys, here's some sushi, here's a pep talk, y'all are awesome. I'm gonna go home and play Mafia. So none of these things I would say are, there are times when poker is like a massive, massive time commitment, but there's also plenty of times where I go weeks without spending any time on it.
I was trying to scroll through and find your tweet, but you very selflessly changed your pinned tweet to the double up drive now instead of the compliment from that super chess boss. Do you want to brag about it real quick? Because I was like, I don't know anything about chess, and I saw that, and I was like, ooh, this looks like a big deal. Like everyone's like, holy shit, Dan.
So I played this online chess match versus Alex Botez, who's a player of like a similar ranking to me. We were playing first to 5 wins, and she basically was like, hey, we can bet as much as you want. Like, I'm like, this is going to be great that I have this really soft action. I don't especially like gambling with non-gamblers. Like I love gambling with gamblers if I could like feel okay about punishing them. But in that situation, I was like, let's keep it friendly. We'll bet $100. And I kicked the shit out of her. Like, she didn't win a game. I won we had 5 wins, 1 tie. It was really satisfying. And then I get a message from Hikaru Nakamura, who was previously ranked number 3 in the world, about like, hey, it was cool seeing you play. You played really well. It was just a pretty wild thing to see. And I will add, the fact that I was so fired up about winning this chess match for $100 was definitely making me think about like my motivation for poker, because even some very big wins these days, like I just don't feel that. And then I play this chess match for almost no money, and I was so hyped.
Yeah, that's like, that has to feel so amazing. You told me like my commentary one day, that felt as amazing to me. Like that's the thing. It's the kind of thing where when you respect somebody, it's like compliments are amazing. Mafia opened my eyes to what you're saying, because poker doesn't give me the rush of like, oh my God, I won money or something. It's like, it feels like a job lately, mostly because it's all online and every day feels the same when I do grind. But I'm like kind of at peace with that it's still better than regular jobs, and it's cool to not have something be this like fiery passion every day. But Mafia opened my eyes to that, where I'm just like, oh man, it like playing with ultra competitive people in different, whatever fields they're in. And playing for $0 is what I like the most. Because if we started betting like $100 a game or something, it would suck. Like it's nice to have hobbies again, like you had when you were a kid, where you're like competitive for the sake of it, where it's like super cutthroat for no money. It just reminds me of being a kid. Like kids are generally happier than adults, and I feel like we're onto something if we start playing games and stuff again.
I am still really mad about that time 2 weeks ago when I misspoke and you called me out on it. We even won the game, and I'm still fucking so mad about it.
I mean, that's the best part of the game, though. Like, I feel like most of the people we play with are much better poker players and probably smarter than me, and I can still fuck them up in certain ways in Mafia, and it's like the best feeling. Sorry. Not really.
I have nothing to add to this conversation because I'm like so not on the Mafia trend, and we talked about this so many times, Dan, and it's I think I'm playing with the wrong people or something, but the people I play with, they just like monopolize. Like I'm usually like, I'll get right in there and I'll fight, but I have no desire to like fight with these people when we have meetings. I'm just like, whatever, vote me up. I don't care. I need to go do shit anyways. Just like,
you need to play with a bunch of hotheads.
If the person that you're competing with wants to win. That's why like play money poker games are just suck.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All of us are so like, it's a bunch of psychos. It's basically a carefully curated group of psychotic human beings who all will yell at each other if we have to, will like backstab and stuff. And everyone wants to win so bad. It's to the point like Terrence Chan just rage quit the chat one day. He was like, I can't take this anymore. He's like, I'm not gonna be able to sleep. I'm out. And he meant it. Like, I don't know. It's a good game. And I think poker used to feel like that. I used to like lose sleep over hands I misplayed or like getting bluffed in a big spot or something. I'm like, that kind of went away. But I feel like if you have that at your core, you're going to find it in other games too. Do you play any other games?
Not especially. When I was younger and playing a lot of poker, I made the conscious decision not to, like I knew I had the tendency to get super obsessed with things. And I just thought if I was going to use that part of my brain, I should use it on poker.
Mm-hmm. At least that one didn't get ice cream scooped out by drugs.
I do think the fact that I was playing a competitive game from such a young age probably was a little bit like toxic on my brain. You really teach yourself that there is a right or wrong decision, and in certain things I would feel my brain like really just trying to like crunch numbers, and it's just like, it's not how life works. Like things aren't always better or worse, they're just different. Mm-hmm. But if I had a thing that I was like trying to figure out, I would just agonize it over weeks, and there just was like nothing that I could do about it.
Yeah, I did want to touch on this because I don't know, I didn't know you very well until, getting to know you through games and stuff like that. But I was wondering if basically your drug experience and then also your charitable experience so far has had a significant change in your personality, because you're way friendlier than I thought you were, but I also didn't know you very well, so I'm not sure.
Ouch.
No, it's just like my first impression. I might have played a poker tournament with you where it's like, you're obviously not going to be like, I'm so pleased to meet you, let's be friends.
I think I definitely used to have a hard time expressing myself around new people. And I also definitely used to think poker was the most important thing in the world. Especially, like, I think some people have impressions of me from like seeing the main event on TV. And it's like, the tournament was just run like completely like shit, and there were so many clusterfucks, and it was like the biggest day of my life. Of course, I'm stressed. I'm like, oh, Dan, you were pretty curt to those people, and I'm like, no, I'm trying my best. I find it a little hard. Like, this charity thing has been a part of my life for 7 years now, so I don't know what I would be like otherwise. And I have also had plenty of issues with mental health, so I spend a ton of time doing like positivity exercises in my like a meditation type stuff or various things like that. I have tried to become friendlier. There was a conscious choice when I was very depressed and I was hanging out with Lucky Chewy, and was like, I want my brain to work like his. Like,
doesn't everyone? That would be so nice.
I will say, the first time I took mushrooms, it was me and Chewy in the park, and he was just like definitely the right person to have around. Like, anytime I would have an idea, he's like, Dan, what a great idea. We should definitely explore that tree. And I'm just like,
oh, that's cute.
That's so key. Yeah. Like, having like the right people around. I've never had a bad trip or a bad experience. I haven't done mushrooms that many times, but I'm so anal about only having like great people around, because that's the key to just having a miserable. And whenever I talk to people and they're like, oh, I had this awful trip once, I'm really turned off. I'm like, well, what was your experience? They're like, well, I was in a house with like a bunch of strangers and it was cold and they were telling me I was being weird. And I was like, of course you had a bad experience. You know what I mean? You got to curate your environment. It's very important. That is setting, man. And and just like wanting to be there, man. I just want to have Lucky Chewy around next time I.
Really, all the time. He's just
he's a legend, absolute legend.
I met Lucky Chewy when he was like baby Lucky Chewy. I wonder if you'd remember. Probably not. It was like 2009. It was the first time I came out to WSOP, and I forget who I became friends with, but I ended up in a group of people, and it was Seaver, Lucky Chewy, a bunch of pale internet kids. I fit in well at the time, and we were at some pool party, and they were all just like little kids. It like reminds me of watching Donnie Stern on 2 Months, 2 Million, where I'm just like, oh my God, you were like a larva. And then they turn into these amazing people it's just like cool. That's one thing in poker I really like, that seeing like very brilliant people go from their like awkward like college boy stage to like really good human beings. I think that's a great segue into letting you brag about the charity one more time.
I will add that photographic memory, and I promise that he remembers you, and he could probably tell you like everything about your conversation that day.
That's crazy.
Memory?
It's not. So there's two types of like these memories. The one all the way is photographic memory. There's something that's where it's not actually like a photo, and I don't know what the word is because I have a shit memory. But whatever the thing that isn't quite photographic memory is what Chewy has.
That's really awesome. I mean, that has to be so amazing, especially now that like solvers are so prevalent. If you can really just run a sim and then like remember what it looks like when you're scrolling through the different hands and ranges, like, dude, he's going to take over the world.
There are some great poker players who could just like look at a pre-flop chart and have it down pat. Like, I'm very much not that at all.
Yeah. And just to bring it back to Double Up Drive because I think it's like so important to get people to get these like last minute donations in and stuff. Could you tell people how exactly to do it? And also, one question I never asked you was, who are the people who are matching it? Is it a group of a lot of people and investors and stuff? Is it poker players? And how did you find this group?
It is a group of mostly professional gamblers. On the doubleupdrive.com website, there is an about button that will show us who some of the team is. Mm-hmm. This year, we also included some finance people who reached out. So it's just a combination of gamblers and finance people, but really it's anyone who wants to get involved. If someone ever wants to make a large donation and have it be towards matching partners, you can contact me, Dan at doubleupdrive.com. Honestly, the whole thing really just came together through word of mouth. It's really easy to talk shit about social media, and I do it all the time and think that it could be bad for the brain. But the whole project just started when I tweeted about it and then I blogged about it and the thing went viral. It's just entirely through word of mouth or people like telling their friends. It was kind of an amazing thing. And if you want to get involved on the Double Up Drive website, there's a donate button. We'd be really grateful for anyone's support.
That's awesome. To talk about social media, I had done like a charity thing for a race I was running. This is like 10 years ago before I was on any social media. I think I raised like $300. And this is when I was like friends with more lawyers. They're just like, oh yeah, I'll donate 20, whatever. I ran one a few years ago. I got $6,500 for the ASPCA. And it was all people who were just like, oh, I like your tweets. I'll give you $50. And like, it was amazing. So I'm like, okay, Twitter is usually where I go to feel terrible about myself. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is super useful. And you don't have to be as pushy. You just put something out there. And if someone feels like clicking on it and learning about it and donating, they can. But you don't have to start texting people and being like, support this charity, because maybe those people don't have money or they don't care. I just think, yeah, I mean, that it probably helped you raise millions and millions of dollars because it's just such a like non-intrusive way of like asking people for help.
I think I probably should be more comfortable reaching out to people directly, and I don't do it very often, but I do know some people who have a real lot of money, and I probably should be, like, the worst thing that can happen is they say no. Like, this is a thing that I believe in. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I think it shouldn't be weird if I reached out to someone, but like you, I also don't really feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah. You put people in weird spots. And also, especially this year, it's like so hard to know people's financial situations. Like some people could have just gotten totally wrecked, like lost businesses and stuff. So yeah, I think like it's just great to be able to put it on social media, and you have such a large following. So you get people who are like really interested in helping and can afford it. Is there
a deadline for the donations?
Yes, that is a great question, and I totally would have neglected it. So we have a bit over 680,000 to get your donation matched. We have to not run out of funds before then, and then the deadline is the end of the year. We do it that way so people can get their tax write-off. And actually, it might be a couple days before the end of the year, and I definitely should have checked that. I'm going to guess it's a few days before the end of the year to give our team the opportunity to get our wires together and that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, so since we're not sure, just do it today. It's super easy. Is there anything else?
Donate. I would encourage you to do it earlier. That makes planning on our end a little bit easier. Like I know some people who definitely intend to. So if that is the case, I would encourage you to do it sooner rather than later.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's all. I really just, like, I'm happy you came on because I think this is a really important thing. It's really cool that this is what you're choosing to do with your life. It's also cool, like, just because you're not putting in thousands and thousands of hours, you're still, like, delegating as part of it and picking the right people as part of it. And just starting the ball rolling is pretty cool. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm happy you're in our poker community so that when my mom's like, is there anyone good? I could be like, people raise money, right? I know one guy who's doing something good. Leave me alone.
I'm going to give a quick little pitch that sounds a little bit crazy, but since I've decided to start donating like 20% of my income to charity, I think I've started making way more money. And I don't think it's karma in like the energetic sense, but I've definitely gotten plenty more gambling opportunities before like being known as the charity guy. I definitely wasn't going to get a seat in the Triton $1 million tournament. And then people on Twitter just started hounding Rob Young about how it was bullshit that I wasn't getting to play. And I wasn't even tweeting myself. I just like, I was like, well, this is bullshit, but whatever. Random people, like I didn't even know who they were, just started hounding him. And then Rob calls me. He's like, okay, you have a seat. You have to be here in 36 hours. So I get gambling opportunities like that. And as someone who is, I'm not particularly financially motivated. So that makes playing poker sometimes not super appealing. The idea of playing for something bigger than myself makes it easier. So then there have been a few times I've had really good opportunities to make money where I think having this in the back of my mind inspired me to put in way more hours. I've also just found that people are really willing to help me out, and if I need a favor in any sort of a number of ways, I found that people have been like really remarkable in going above and beyond helping me. And I don't think it's like an energetic thing, but I think if you do good, it generally will come around. And I think donating my money to Double Up Drive has led to me making a lot more money, which wasn't my intention, but I'm cool with it.
Yeah, it has like the positive effect too of just making you expect to have good interactions with people. Like, I don't know if you feel that way, but I feel like if I know I'm doing good things, I like expect people to be nice to me, and then I'm nicer to them. You're like happier. I don't know. So karma is like a little whatever. People believe all different things about it, but I feel like that's part of it. Is just like when you feel good inside about the stuff you're doing, you tend to just have better interactions with everyone.
Yeah, you're just fulfilled, like in any sense of the word. When I feel like I think Brian Koppelman did a really good tweet recently where he was talking about this stuff, and he was saying like, when you don't do these things, whether it's a creative project or a charity or something that you know that you're supposed to be doing, there's a part of you that's like rotting inside, and that emanates when in your interactions with people. So you know, it's so true that I think it's when you're just feeling like you're living your best self or you're actualizing who you're meant to be, let's like give off this energy. I don't know how to describe it either. And I'm not really spiritual and not religious or anything, but there's definitely something to this stuff. I feel it in myself as well. And it's really awesome.
I think on that note, I want to add that I think plenty of people have a really good idea of knowing what they could or should do, and then just don't do it. If you feel strongly about something and you know it's right, I think just go out and do it. And it's something like doing the things that I know I should do has always been easy for me. Like, I don't think I necessarily have the attributes of someone who is particularly adept at running a charity. I just started doing it and continued to do it. And then okay, now I'm the person that does it. And if whatever that thing is for you, if you know what you should do, I just go do it.
Yeah, and have the confidence to try. And like, you're not supposed to be amazing at it, but like now you're 7 years into it and you probably have a pretty good idea. Like if this tech problem happened in the first year, you might have had like a huge meltdown, but you're just saying, you show up with sushi, you're like, sorry guys.
Yeah, I'm also fortunate that like, I guess I do have a pretty positive outlook, and I was just like, okay, what's the worst case scenario that happens? Like, okay, maybe we don't have a drive this year or whatever. Like there was a point where that would have like crushed me, but I'm like, you know what? I'm like really trying my best. Life is still going to be good and it will go on. Like, when you have that like foundation, it's kind of hard for things to shake you.
Yeah. Awesome.
I just wanted to plug the Run It Once charity tournament one more time. We'll be playing in that, Jamie and I, as well. And I think it's going to be on the 12th. Check that out on Run It Once's Twitch. And maybe some other platforms as well, but check that out. And donate on Double Up Drive.
And I like that we're like, guys, you should donate to this charity tournament we're all playing. We have none of the details. It's going to be awesome, though.
The last one was super fun, and I will add, I think I'm playing too.
Yeah, we'll have Colin, our awesome video editor, put up the details. How about that? But yeah, this has been really awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you for doing good stuff for everyone and helping the poker community, feel slightly less scummy. I really appreciate that.
This is another example of like, this is a thing that I want to do, and I don't especially want to do any of the work. So I just put it on Twitter, and it's like, great, y'all are going to do everything. I just talk for 30 minutes, and boom, it's done. Now I'm going to go play pickleball.
That is living the dream. Well, I'm just going to keep saying nice things until you take some amount of credit, so you can make this as uncomfortable and awkward as you want, or you could just be like, yeah, I'm doing a good thing.
Thank you. I should probably try to learn how to take a compliment.
Yeah. But awesome. Thank you guys for listening. And if you have any extra money to donate to charity this year, really tough year for everyone, but yeah, Double Up Drive is awesome, and we'll put the details in the link.
Thanks, guys. See you next week. Thanks, Dan.
That was awesome. Thank you.